Okay, well, I'm Stephanie Walsh, and I'm at Second Stage Uptown with Constantine Maroulis.
That's right.
And Constantine, you are currently in Friend Art, playing Nate. Can you tell us a little bit about your character?
Sure. Friend Art is a four-person actor play, a new comedy by Sofia Alvarez, Fia, we call her, directed by Porsha Krieger. Porsha is the associate director on Fun Home to Broadway fans at home, and she's done a lot of great stuff as well. And they both work on television a great deal. Friend Art is a really fun new little comedy set in Brooklyn for friends, myself and Aaron Costa-Ganis play best friends from home, basically, from like the suburbs of Virginia. I'm probably like a few years older than him, probably like maybe I was a senior, when he was a freshman. But you know how those friends go. Later in life, you become better friends with them than people that you graduated with. And I was very successful at a very young age, maybe even late teens, early 20s. I had one hit and big hit record and toured the world and made a lot of money and saved it all and live sort of frugally, but have like a big loft in Bushwick or something. But as I say in the play, I'm just famous enough where I can't get a real job, and I have enough money to basically do nothing, which is a real creativity buzzkill. And his former, current, pseudo kind of girlfriend, much younger, played by Annabelle, Lil, is a performance artist. And he's very supportive of her, whatnot. She's sort of moved in and moved out of his apartment in the recent past. And of course, Molly is Kevin's fiance, who I've known for many years because they've been together from forever, for 10 years, since college and everything. Basically, there's some couple swapping sort of insinuated. It's really about transitioning from your sort of former artist life into like your new adult life, which we all have a bit of trouble doing. I'm sort of content just being kind of rich and hanging out, just dipping into the trust fund every once in a while to pay the mortgage and some bills, but he lives a pretty bohemian lifestyle. And he is a lonely guy and probably the heart of the show, of the play. Aaron is particularly neurotic, and his character, Kevin, and has always been content kind of being just my friend. And but something about Lil inspires him to maybe want to get back into being artistic. And he is a curator, but he works for like a corporate company and puts shitty murals up on office walls. But something about her flailing about at one of her performances inspires him to get involved with her and help her. And then there sort of becomes the argument, like, how much of it did he really do and help her accomplish, and how much of it was her vision. Molly grows very close to me while they're spending time together. That relationship is sort of foggy until we learn that it's very much definitively one way and not the other. And we learn that in the show. But there's some fantasizing about what it would be like to be with like a nice girl like Molly, who's got a job and can pull off flats and cute pants, and is very feminine and a bit more maternal and loving than my crazy artist ex-girlfriend, who I have like amazing chemistry with and whatnot. So this is where we find these four characters. They're very close. They kind of go through some ups and downs through the show. And I think it's about trying to get your friends to support your vision and your dreams. And sometimes it's only your friends that come to your shows. And that's okay too. But that can be maybe even more painful than a room full of strangers that don't like it, because it's always so sensitive around your friends. You know, that's why I always go out of my way to make sure everyone knows that I was there and I really enjoyed it, and I find really nice things to say about the show no matter what. And that's kind of what the play's about.
Do you relate to Nate or any of the other characters?
I do relate to Nate. Porsha, I think, did a great job at casting the show, along with the writer Fia, and Second Stage has been amazing, giving us a great, platform and great support system to get this new work done. Here at Uptown, basically you're in the room for 2 weeks. You work on this play. And then you're in the theater, you tech for a few days, and then boom, you have an audience. It's pretty insane. You relate to Nate. I sometimes feel like, I've become very synonymous with a particular show, let's say Rock of Ages or American Idol. I think that's happened to this guy, and I think somewhere along the line he's lost his creativity or his dream, his passion for his work. That's never happened to me, but I can relate to, how one would experience that, for sure. I think, I might be a big flirt myself, but I feel like at the end of the day, I am a good guy like Nate. I do know, where the line is.
So how did you get involved in this? Because this is also your first straight play, right? You haven't
This is my first straight play, non-musical play in New York. Certainly at a major company or a major theater or off Broadway. So. But like anything, I recently had a new relationship begin with some new representation. This was the first meeting I ever had with them just a few months ago. And I've never even auditioned for Second Stage. So I came in and I read for them, and they basically never let me leave the room, which was really cool. And I didn't know what Uptown was. I assumed that we would be at the West 43rd Street space where Dear Evan Hansen's been. And it was an interesting rehearsal process being in their rehearsal room while they were teching, dress rehearsing, and then of course performing their show. And there's a lot of belting that goes on over there. So we were trying to work on a quiet play while they're wailing in the next room, and it made for an interesting experience. But really it was kind of awesome. It was like being back in college in a way, 3 shows going on at once, you're running back and forth, kind of guerrilla style, and that's kind of what Uptown's about. Everyone from Ian McKellen to Constantine Maroulis has been here, and you just kind of know what you're getting into, and I think the audiences know, and we've been full every night, which is great. They know that that's an exciting part of the show, is that they've only been working on it for a few weeks, 3 weeks really. So it's kind of awesome.
Have there been any big challenges for you for this? Because you did Rock of Ages last year was when it closed?
Yeah, I went back to Rock of Ages before we finished up. I ended up being there 5-6 months maybe, or maybe 4 or 5 months.
I know you went back in October, because I ran into you and then you were like, oh, I'm doing it next week.
Right, I think even earlier than that though. August or something, I started work on it, and maybe opened in September sometime, but then through the end of the year.
And then, you stayed on.
And then we finished up, I guess, middle of January last year. But like anything, I don't know if you're doing Rock of Ages, Jekyll and Hyde, The Wedding Singer, Rent, Superstar, whatever, or you're doing friend art in a 99-seat theater, I think, the approach to the work doesn't change. You try to prepare yourself as much as possible. You try to, put yourself in believable situations and really just be natural and reactive and listen in the moment live on stage. And I'm very grateful to work with 3 awesome actors that are very trained and very well prepared. And really a lot of my job is listening and kind of tying the play together a bit. But really exciting to be a part of a new work where really up until we froze the show in previews, it was changing every day.
Wow.
New pages, new things, and just different things to think about. But Porsha's great. I've had a lot of luck with awesome, awesomely talented female directors, and I hope to work with a lot more of them down the road. I think that I don't know what it is, like with Kristen Henge and with Porsha, we just have they just know how to bring what they need out of me.
I know you produced last year, like you're involved in Spring Awakening. How did that happen?
I've always sort of been looking for opportunities to produce on Broadway. There were some opportunities before Spring Awakening came up, and Ken Davenport's a good buddy of mine. We are collaborating on a hopeful Broadway show called Getting the Band Back Together. John Rando's directing. It's been floating around a few years, sort of just a timing thing. And I play on his softball team. We've gotten to know each other. He knows that I was very interested in getting involved in producing, that I have a way of bringing people together and money people together. So I knew he was getting involved. He, opened his door to me, and I'm really just excited to have been a part of the team. It's a great learning experience being a co-producer on a major Broadway show and run. We're nominated for Best Revival, and we've done very well with all the other awards as well. The Outer Critics and the Drama Desks will be represented, and Michael Arden is an amazing director I've known for almost 20 years, and he's always been someone I looked up to, even though I think I might even be older than him. So there you have it. I love Spring Awakening. I think it's one of the most exciting, really, it's probably the best original musical of the millennium outside of maybe Hamilton, for me, as far as like new works. And I wouldn't put Rock of Ages in that category, but because it's a jukebox show, but I just think Spring Awakening is amazing. I remember seeing it like days after I stepped off American Idol. They had just opened. I mean, I was just blown away by the show, and I love Deaf West. Jeff Calhoun, who directed me in Jekyll and Hyde, he directed a very famous Big River I remember seeing on Broadway, and I just think Deaf West is amazing. These kids are amazing, and just to be a small part of it has been a blessing.
So you're looking forward to the Tonys for this? Do you think you guys are going to win? I think you guys are going to win.
Oh, that's very sweet of you. It's so hard to sort of have feelings about it one way or the other. They're at the Beacon this year, so I'll have a short walk to go to the show from here. I think the other shows are really delightful. I thought Danny and Fiddler, directed by Bart, was really a beautiful show. And She Loves Me is one of my favorite shows. I did that show probably 20 years ago. I played Arpad in Maplewood, New Jersey, before anyone lived there, because now everyone lives in Maplewood, New Jersey. I did like a community theater version of it, and we had a very similar sort of set in a weird way, just like the cheap version of it. We had like this rotating circular thing, and the shop would open out, and it would be, like this sort of jewel box kind of metaphor that's going on, and that was awesome. I thought Color Purple was really great. I got to see it just before Jennifer Hudson left the show. It's beautifully directed, and Cynthia is amazing, and she's a real powerhouse. And I can relate because, people are like, how could you do Jekyll and Hyde every day? And how could you do and be on the road and wake up and do press? And how could you do Rock of Ages every night? And the answer is you just do it, and you can never go, you have to go all out. Yeah. Otherwise, that's how you get hurt, and that's how you miss shows. If you're connected from like the ground up through your feet and like through your heart and soul, you could do anything. Sometimes we get sick, and then if it gets stuck in there, the voice is not where it needs to be, but she's a beast for sure, and I think she deserves all the accolades coming her way. I do think Spring Awakening is by far the most reinvented, title in this season, in a season of quite reinvented pieces. Never had Fiddler felt so poignant and relevant to me. I've also never seen a Broadway beautiful production of it. I've only seen like community theater, but even the refugees at the end, it just was so, it really, touched me, touched home. The Greeks, experienced a very similar, sort of treatment during the war and whatnot, and not comparing what the Jews and the Greeks have been through or anything like that, but I just very much related to what was happening there for sure. So I wish everyone luck. I think it's a beautiful year, and in a year of the biggest show ever conceived, Hamilton, I think there's some other really, truly amazing works.
So I saw that the Spring Awakening, they're doing a Kickstarter to get a performance. Do you know about that?
Of course.
I don't know, is that something that...
I think what's great about Spring Awakening and our production, we had a rabid fan base. They were incredible. By far, we had the most social media presence next to Hamilton of any shows really combined. It was tremendous, the impressions we had on social media and the fan base every day at the show, and hundreds of people, at the lotteries and waiting. But with that, the show has never been a hugely commercial type of show. We had trouble, maybe finding the audience that we could sell, the expensive tickets to. With that, it was quite a financial, undertaking. Thankfully, we got, an amazing cast to work for basically the minimums all around, and we were able to give Broadway about a 6-month run of it. But with the Tonys being at a much smaller venue, the expenses being so high, in true Spring Awakening, fashion, we are doing a Kickstarter to get the kids on the show. When a show closes and you're trying to be represented at the Tonys, it's very hard when the money stops coming in. It is a very expensive undertaking. You have huge union costs, rehearsals, costumes, fees, whatnot, and they just really add up so very quickly. So I'm excited to see if we can reach our goal. I imagine that we will, and I think the kids very much deserve to be on the show. And what we do to represent actors that have different, special needs that we're not as used to seeing on Broadway and whatnot, to see them in front of, tens of millions of homes on television will be pretty amazing. And I'm sad that our actors were not represented by the nominations, because I think they were very, very deserving of such, but not everyone can be nominated.
I saw on Facebook you posted that video of you singing Phantom in French.
Mm-hmm.
Why have you never, at least on Broadway anyway, gone for a part like that? Because you said, okay,
I think
you sounded amazing.
Thank you. I grew up singing classically and with rock and roll as well. I had an amazing teacher that just left this world about a month ago, James Javor, who I miss very much. He was my teacher at the Boston Conservatory and really believed in my instrument as a classical instrument as well, and taught me really everything I know as far as being a technician, as far as being a singer and an instrumentalist as a singer and a vocalist, performing and whatnot. So I just think sometimes you become very synonymous with a style, and that's good, and it's worked for me for 10, 12 years. I've been doing rock and roll shows, and that's cool, but of course I would love to do more. I just think when you're casting a show, you don't think Constantine Maroulis for the legit part in She Loves Me, but I would have totally crushed that part as well. But I, the long hair and whatnot.
Do you go for those parts though? Do you throw your name in the hat kind of thing, or? Sometimes. I have a good team and I leave things up to them, and I've been very busy, producing on Spring Awakening and writing this new record, and the first 2 songs are out right now, and they've been performing very well. We have a bunch of solo concerts coming up with a new band, from the New Jersey State Fair to shows in San Diego and Houston and DC, and a homecoming concert in New York City at the Highline Ballroom the beginning of the fall.
So really looking forward to doing all of that. For me, you know what? I take it as it comes. You know, I love to do lots of things. I like to travel. I like to host. I like to write and produce. And of course, I love being on Broadway and, you know, singing high notes and rocking out a cool acting part and all that. Sure, I would love to be considered more for film and television and maybe more legit parts on Broadway as far as vocally. But you know what? Sometimes you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
So like what's next after this? You're doing those shows. Are you like, when's the record gonna be finished?
We're hoping the record will be done and out by the end of the year. There's a couple of new songs that are nearly done that we'll hopefully be posting this summer as well. Very excited about that. I'm still writing. We've written dozens and dozens of songs and recorded, you know, basically all of them as well. So excited about that, but really that's the focus, the songwriting and getting out there with the band and trying to beat up radio a little bit. And, you know, being a part of the American Idol finale was huge and amazing. And, you know, to reconnect with greats like Daughtry and, you know, people that I've, you know, either come up with or really come up enjoying and admiring, and he's one of them certainly. And maybe we'll do some dates together. And there's a lot of talk going on right now. There's another big tour of a Broadway show going out that maybe that could be cool too. And just hustling, you know. My daughter will be starting kindergarten in September, so we have a big summer planned of camp, and she's going to be starting, you know, a bit more of a progressed dance program here in the city a couple of times a week. So she's, you know, the love of my life. So I'm just looking forward to hanging out with her and seeing her grow. I live out in the burbs now in New Jersey. So that's basically it. Yeah, a lot of fun stuff coming up though.
Awesome. Well, how long does this go till? June 17th?
We close Tony's Sunday, June 12th. So if you don't have your tickets, come see Friend Art as soon as possible. There's only 99 seats, and usually they're completely full. So tickets are only like 20 or 25 bucks. We might extend a couple of weeks. We might not. It's really not what this sort of experience is sort of intended for, like necessarily like a commercial run. But it's really boom, knock it out, get it up, get it out, you know, move on to the next thing. But I've really enjoyed working for Second Stage. They're first class organization all the way, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.